Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman, and we're coming to you today from our studios at the Capital Region International Airport. But we're going to run across town, matter of fact, across state, because I'm never really sure where David Russell from Foster Swift, Collins and Smith is, because they have six actual offices across the entire state of Michigan. David, welcome. Where are you?
I am actually here in Lansing, not
Oh
too
my
far from you.
Caught you at home. Well, listen, every time I have you on, there's important information, and this is the same. Troubled assets, troubled projects, business ventures. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So typically when we see what we call a trouble asset or trouble project, we're looking at commercial loans where we have non-payment or construction projects that are delayed or maybe completely halted because of issues. You may have business ventures that are underwater or ownership disputes where shareholders or members just can't get along.
Kind of interesting stuff, and people don't look at this. And talking about loans and like you say, business underwater. Who knows what's going to happen next, right? So what are some of the common causes in construction projects and business ventures of these things?
Sure. A lot of the common causes are, maybe budgeting right from the beginning wasn't done correctly. There may be financial issues on the funding source for the project. There may be permitting issues that arise because of, unforeseen issues with a municipality, or there could be shareholder disputes that halt the project. There are a number of different things that can cause, a project to halt, or that could cause a business venture to become problematic. And these are typical issues that you see. A lot of times it can be something that maybe isn't foreseen, like some type of natural disaster, a flooding or something like that, that causes the issue that, it's hard to see in the future what's going to happen.
It's interesting because the regulatory piece of this, I see so many violations, especially in small business, and they're unintended. I mean, it's generally, I didn't know that was a regulation.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think, to maybe avoid these, one of the biggest things is to implement strong contractual safeguards up front to get, counsel to look at those issues, to learn what you don't know that might become an issue down the line. I think having number one, strong, clear operating agreements with your members, or shareholder agreements with your within your corporation. That's number one. That can avoid so many issues. Good contracts with other parties, whether it be your subcontractors, vendors, any of those folks. When you have good contracts, those contracts are going to include in there clauses that are going to hopefully help you if you get to a default. So you might spend some money up front, but in the long run, I think it's going to be well worth it to you to hopefully avoid legal issues, but in the event that they do arise, to in the end save you money to get to a result that that's can keep your business moving forward.
It's interesting. They used to say a contract is only as good as the people who enter into it, right?
That's
But,
right.
but it really has gone beyond that because there are other people that enter into that contract later. Can we talk a little bit about exit strategies? Because that's one of the things, when I consult a business, I always say, okay, so you started your business last month. Let's start thinking about your exit strategy. And that's about the time you should.
Right. I mean, I guess, Chris, are you talking about specifically an exit strategy when there's a problem, or just in general?
Well, both actually. And it's good to have that. How do we get out of this if there is a problem?
Right, exactly. And so to the extent that there is a problem, and you need to, uh, litigate, hopefully you don't need to go down that road, but if that's an issue you need to do, then hopefully you have those strong contracts and your operating agreement is strong. And, if necessary, that you're able to stop the issue right away And, that might be an injunction with a court. And, at that point, hopefully you have good counsel, and maybe you can get to a mediation and you can resolve the issue. Now, outside of, litigation, I think, succession planning in businesses is really important. And hopefully that you have that plan in place for an exit strategy. And, I think your operating agreements can certainly address those issues of what that looks like, maybe on a buyout, or how you're going to, sell the business.
David, I got about 30 seconds left, and I'm going to ask you, what's the meaning of life? How can distressed assets and projects be preserved during litigation?
Well, I think number one, hire competent counsel, look for a resolution that's the efficient resolution, and get to a good mediator, hopefully.
Yeah. The money you spend up front for that is money well spent. It really is.
Right.
David, thanks so much for joining us. David Russell, Foster Swift Collins and Smith, PC, with 6 offices across the state of Michigan. And you've been watching all this on the Michigan Business Beat. I'm Chris Holman on the Michigan Business Network.